The Seattle Seahawks are officially Super Bowl champions. The 2025 season is in the books. It is Dynasty offseason time. I'm your host, Pete Nova. We have a ton of players to talk about right here on Player Profiler. What's going on, guys? Pete Nova here, Player Profiler. Super excited to have another episode at the Dynasty Stock Market. I do have a special guest for you guys here today. It is Jerry Sinclair from the hiatus for a little bit of time off. He is back to kick the rust off and give you his fresh Dynasty thoughts that have been incubating for a few months now. Jerry, what's going on, man?
Mr. Nova, it is good to be here, my friend. There's a time and a place for all people who play Dynasty, and we are at the precipice of that glorious moment when the off-season consumes every aspect of our lives. At some point, we will fantasize about men in onesies running 40-yard dashes. We will sit there and watch people call names of human beings that we will never meet in our lives, and it will absolutely be the most enthralling thing that we can imagine. And I get to start that with you today, my friend. What is on the docket? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. This is the first time that we've done a show together. I mean, we've interacted here and there on Twitter. You're a veteran though in the space, right? You've been doing content for a really, really long time, especially in the Dynasty side of things. And I've been doing Dynasty for probably about 4 or 5 years now. How long have you been doing Dynasty?
So the reason you brought it up is because I was on the Dynasty Warzone podcast, a player profiler podcast, for 8 years. My co-host recently passed away. Tragic thing. I miss him. I love Randy. That is my man. I always will. And to watch Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl after he was the only human being that I had to listen to every single week telling me that Sam Darnold was going to do something good when I thought he was nuts. You know what, buddy? You were right. Touche. I love you. So yeah, I have, we did the show for 8 years.
Yeah.
We never missed a week from the moment we started until the time when he passed away. He was a psychopath when it came to consistency. I play in probably 30-ish leagues, and I've played in a lot of them for about 15, so I've got hundreds of years of just making the worst mistakes you could ever imagine. And that's sort of how I do this game, is I think of everything I have catastrophically screwed up, and I try and change that. And I try and tell the people how I screwed it up so that they don't. Because I want them to drink from their championship chalices with all of the tears of their league mates piled in there. And so their tears are not a part of it.
Well, I will say this, right? And we've talked about Memphis, on the channel here, even in past shows, and super unfortunate, of course. And it's always tough, right? I mean, we talked a little bit, right? I lost my co-host earlier last year, so we have a little bit of similarity in that regard, where it's never an easy thing, but the show must go on. And Randy would be happy to see you here talking his guy up, Sam Darnold, after fresh off the Super Bowl win. I think it's probably poetic justice to have you on like 3 days later after Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl. And I know, as you mentioned, he'd be probably talking your ear off about it, doing a million victory laps to you, texting you all about how he was right, and Sammy D finally pulled it off. So
yeah, I probably would have had to mute him, if we're being honest.
Well, it's good though. But well, listen, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I think you made a good point in that, with Dynasty, the beautiful thing is, like a lot of things, you really don't know what you don't know. And with Dynasty, you know these things by making mistakes, right? There's so many guys in the space of Dynasty that will tell you this is how you should value players, you should trade. I mean, you should treat Dynasty like this or Dynasty like that. And the truth is, the landscape changes so fast, so quickly. and you make mistakes and you learn from mistakes, right? And so it's nice to have somebody on like yourself that's been doing it for a while. It's been giving out that advice for a while. As you guys are aware, for today's show, and like these shows normally go, we talk about the most traded players in Dynasty currently right now. Now, I'm going to do a switch up after this week's show because we're running into a couple of guys that, unfortunately, some of the common names until we hit free agency, a lot of the common names are still kind of high up on the list. But I will tell you that right now, Kenneth Walker, post Super Bowl, is the number one traded player right now in Dynasty Fantasy Football. We did talk about Kenny Walker last week, homage to Michigan as well. And Woody March, talked about him, Breece Hall, talked about him, Brian Thomas, Malik Willis. We've talked about all five of those guys, Malik and Kenneth Walker, very recently. So we kind of continue to go down the list to see who is a player we haven't talked about that would technically be next. So we got 5 players for you today. Rome Odunze is number 1. He's the 7th most traded player right now. We talked about him a couple weeks back, but I think it's good to kind of circle back on him. Chris Olave is number 12. Nico Collins, number 13. AJ Brown, number 15. And Travis Hunter, number 18. We got all wide receivers today. So that's going to be a really interesting part of this is we got a lot of wide receivers, or all wide receivers. So it'll be nice to kind of talk about where their startup ADP is, where we value them. And you'll be able to kind of, we'll dip back in as we go on to other players, kind of pass back and forth there. So without further ado, let's kick it off with our first player. It's going to be Chris Olave, who has a redemption season where many people wrote this guy off, Jerry. This guy is 25.6 years old. He was the 11th pick in the 2022 NFL draft. The talent was never a question with Chris Olave. It's always kind of been a situation. You had Derek Carr, who threw him into car accidents his entire early on in his career. I wish I had the drum set for that. And then, then you're sitting here saying Tyler Shuck, who's going to be the quarterback? Is it Spencer Rattler? A lot of people didn't want this guy. A lot of people did not want this guy. And he ends up pulling out a wide receiver total points season of wide receiver 6 and 7th in points per game with 16.8. Played 16 games. So that's bucking that trend of injury prone, which really has only been concussions. He's been healthy outside of all of that. Let's talk about Chris Olave, though. What is your sentiment with him right now? It looks like year 2 in Kellen Moore's system. Shuck is returning. I think they might bring somebody next to him at the wide receiver position. Not sure how expensive they're going to or how high the capital they're going to bring in. But what is your thoughts on Chris Olave? Are you a guy that's been in on him? Were you in on him last year? And what are your kind of thoughts on him right now?
No, I've been a hateful man towards Chris Olave, not because of the talent, but because of the situation, like you mentioned earlier. And let me tell you how I was talking about all of those mistakes that I have made and I tried to learn from. I'm in on Chris Olave because, brothers and sisters, while I did not believe in Tyler Shuck and I didn't think Spencer Rattler was all that great, they're fine. They are what they are. They're not going to, set your pants on fire, but they'll get the blood flowing to the right places a little bit. Chris Olave, at least yardage wise, about on pace for what he has always done. He got more touchdowns. He got a ton more receptions. He got a lot more targets. And if the situation is stable, which everything points to the fact that it is, how would he not be good? He's, like you said, 25 years old, so he hasn't even hit that peak ceiling wide receiver age 27 season yet, which means you still have an upward trajectory with the man, and the situation should get better. Now, do you worry about the competition? Like Pete, if he brings somebody in, how early are the Saints going to go for somebody? Not that early, because so like a body is going to be there, sure, but this is the same organization that, Rashid Shaheed made plays. Chris Olave was still doing what Chris Olave was doing, and that's what you would think the Saints are going to go after, is somebody similar to that, at least in that role. And
Well,
I
they
just
did
think
bring
Chris,
in Devon Vele. Don't forget that, Jerry.
yeah, which is great. If he fell out of my pocket, I wouldn't bend down to pick him up. I just I I think Chris Olave he's never going to be like wide receiver, 3 or 4 consistently.
Sure.
Maybe we've seen the ceiling because of the 9 touchdowns, but even if it's, you know, 100 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns, a little bit worse of a season, you're still looking at a wide receiver one. And because we saw, I don't want to say it's a late breakout age because that's not entirely correct. He was a first round dynasty rookie pick, but
Yep.
he didn't explode like we've seen other young guys do, which creates that value for you to acquire him. And people are not married to having Chris Olave. I'm for this man going forward.
Yeah, Chris Olave, he reminds me a lot of the Garrett Wilson situation. I'm not saying they're the same talent. They're both high-end target earners, though, and they're both players that continue to get targets. Haven't been able to find the end zone as much as we'd like. But I mean, Chris Olave, 119 targets as a rookie, 138 his second year, only had 44 in 2024, but we understand that that's because of the injuries with the concussions, and then 156 last year. I mean, if you omit the 2024 season, which in 8 games he had 44 targets, right? And he left some of those games early. But if we just take that away, we're talking about a player that's averaging around 130 targets a season. And mind you, you know, the competition is not always a bad thing either. This offense being better is a good thing, right? If they go and bring Love in from Notre Dame, which I know that's been the rumor, I have no idea. I don't know if that's the right move, the wrong move, spending that kind of capital on a running back that high when you've got such bad cap situations. And there's holes on this team. I don't know if that's the right thing. He keeps getting mocked there. We have a lot of time to get there. But the point is, even if Love goes there, that offense you have to think can get a little bit better as long as Shuck doesn't completely regress. And it wasn't just I don't know, what would you call it? What do you call it? I'm thinking, what do you call it when lightning in a bottle? I don't know why
Right.
I couldn't, like, as long as we're assuming that he can be average, right? Or even slightly below average, but somebody that can help the offense move and get them closer to the red zone, maybe that gives you more touchdowns for Olave. Now, he did have 9. That's not sticky. I don't think he's going to have 9 again this year, but he did have a high
But
target share
it's
in the
also
red zone.
not out of the realm of possibilities
No,
either, because Kellen Moore
no.
does have a good system, and obviously they are
Mhm.
going to flow the ball to Chris Olave. Let's say they do draft Jeremiah Love. You're still talking about a rookie running back coming into a situation that is not great. Are they
Sure.
going to base the entire system around him? No. Hell no,
Mm-mm.
especially when you've seen what Chris Olave can do. There is nothing that the Saints could do in the offseason that doesn't make Chris Olave the focal point of the offense. And if that's the case, then you're likely to see a repeat of the targets and of the receptions. And if you can get the volume, then you can find the value.
No, I think he packaged it up pretty well there. Let's now talk about where he's being valued currently, because you talk about the value, right? And startup ADP wise, we're looking at a wide receiver for 13 and pick 40 off the board. So if you go over to Dynasty Data Lab here real quick, and I'll go ahead and share the screen. Dynasty Data Lab, this is all startup ADP, and I've told a lot of people that come on to the show, I value startup ADP more than I value looking at keep trade cut and all these things, because to me, when you're drafting a player, that's really where you value him the most. Like, that's like the highest usually of what their value should be. And so I like startup ADP as a reference for where guys' values are. Now, sometimes people might say, hey, that's too high, too low, and that's what we're here to decipher today. Olave does go ahead of Garrett Wilson. He would be a 4th-round pick in startup superflex. He would go ahead of Rashee Rice, who we know has the legal issues, Emeka Egbuka, Lad McConkey. Let's just stay with those 3 guys right there. Rashee Rice, let's talk about him. Patrick Mahomes, the injury, Rice with the the questionable stuff in the past. There was some stuff that came out a couple weeks ago about some potential other issues personally. So there's some headache stuff there. Egbuka re-rolling the dice, right? I mean, he's a younger asset, and he's on an offense that we expect to continue to maybe be good. Baker is aging, and they're going to have to figure out his contract and situation. So that could be a little worrisome for Egbuka if you're worried that Baker eventually leaves in the next year or two. But I play window in dynasty windows in 2 to 3 years. That's usually my philosophy, Jerry. I don't know what yours is. I know a lot of people get all worked up about running back rookie ages and them coming in and all these things. And I look at it and say, am I a contender? Do I believe in the talent? Can the guy help me win the next 2-3 years? That's what I care about the most. I'm not worried about what am I going to get for flipping a guy in 4 or 5 years if he's still on my team. It's just too far out. So Egbuka and then Lad McConkey, who gets the 1 year likely upgrade with Mike McDaniels. Do you look at any of those receivers that I named as players that you would personally have valued ahead of Chris Olave? And then you might say, hey, situationally, if I'm in a complete rebuild, I prefer Egbuka. If I'm not, maybe you prefer Rice if you're a contender. What are your thoughts on those 3 guys behind him?
No, Chris Olave clears all of them. Like okay. I like Lad McConkey and I like his situation. I don't know if he gains more competition or not.
Sure.
And his quarterback is just Justin Herbert versus Shuck. And so that's why. But also, I believe Chris Olave is a better talent than him. And he's proving that even with inferior talent around him. And that just shows to me that he's going to have longevity in this league. I'm going to take that every other time. As far as Emeka Egbuka, if you would have asked me in week 6 last year, brother, I would have put Emeka Egbuka at like wide receiver 4. And I would have thought I was the smartest human being in the world. No, too volatile for that situation. I understand why people would want to do it because you've seen the opportunity at such a young age and the situation is conducive. Listen, I like gambling. I don't really like gambling with my dynasty teams. They're my baby. They are what I hold near and dear to my heart. As far as Rashee Rice is concerned, I agree that the situation is nice for him. They have a whole bunch of guys that can run really fast, so defenses have to pay attention to that, and then he just funnels all of the targets underneath. Cool. Awesome. Dumbass can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
And I have no confidence that he's going to be able to stay on the field. And I'm going to invest my wonderful teams with that asset. I just can't. I can't. Like he's an awesome scratch off with a nice chance to hit a jackpot, but a lot of the times it just ends up on the bottom of my floor of my car because I lost and I just frisbeed it there.
Rashee Rice, we talked about him a couple weeks ago, and he's a player to me. Crazy enough, Rice, since we talked about him, Rice was actually going somewhere around, I want to say 8 or 9. And he's dropped now to 14. I even think Rice being here at 14 is too high. I would have Egbuka ahead of Rice. I would have Lad ahead of Rice. I would have Rome ahead of Rice. Once you start getting to BTJ and Marv, I can understand more of a conversation there.
For sure.
I'm okay with that. But yeah, I mean, I also worry about Rice and how he ages, right? I mean, he doesn't strike me as a player that is going to age well for fantasy. I don't have his age here. I want to say Rice has got to be somewhere. Man, I think Rice is somewhere around 26, but I just don't look at him as a guy that is going to age very well, just given the skill set and the way he plays. He just doesn't remind me of he's not a big time X receiver where it's like Anquan Bolden style, where it's like he's getting old, or Devontae Adams. Devontae's a little different because the route running's there, but yeah. Anquan Bolden maybe he's not as crisp as a route runner, but he can physically bully you to catch the ball, and he could do that in his early 30s. Rashee Rice, he's a bigger kind of player. He's not this fast, quick guy. He's not this amazing route runner. He's a big slot. That's really what he is right now. He's 25 years old is what Jamie just said. So he's turning 26, 25.8. So it'll be 26 at the end of the year. So yeah, I mean, I think Rice is the guy that's a little overvalued right now and is probably going to be the one that I would take back even more. But let's talk about Garrett Wilson and George Pickens here, because we're going to talk about Nico at some point. I don't want to get to him. I'd rather save that. But let's talk about Garrett and George Pickens, because I think these are interesting conversations. Garrett Wilson, especially, because for Garrett, it just feels like we have been asking for it. We've been praying for it for a really long time, and we just haven't gotten it with Garrett like we thought we would. What about Garrett? Is there any type of interest to maybe put Olave ahead of him, or you're not there yet?
I mean, I still want Garrett Wilson ahead of Chris Olave.
Okay.
But essentially, we're seeing the exact same thing with both of them. So that's just my own personal preference. And maybe it's the bias that I had when they came out as rookies and I thought Garrett Wilson was better. Because in truth, we've seen an 1,100-yard season and 7 touchdowns with Garrett Wilson, and we've seen 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns with Chris Olave, about the same targets, about the same receptions, and that's the ceiling. But we've seen Garrett Wilson be a very stable asset, right in that 1,100 yards, and not a ton of touchdowns, but enough touchdowns to make you think he could be, if that situation at any point stopped being putrid. Which
I know.
Wishful thinking.
We also probably said the same thing about Olave in a way.
True. Exactly.
Point, right. It can change receivers. It feels like it can, they hold value longer, so you can hold out hope. With running backs, it's like the situation's bad and they're still not producing, even getting the volume, because sometimes it can be a little bit of a cheat code with the volume. Then you're kind of a little nervous because you're like, okay, well, how long can I hold this asset, and hold out hope it gets better? Now, before we continue, I do want to make sure you guys are aware that the Rabbit did just kick off over on Fast Draft. So make sure you guys get in on all the action.
They say best ball hasn't changed in 5 years. Until the Rabbit. Clean, easy, $50,000 prize pool that you can actually win. Show the ownership, show the exposure right there in the draft room. We're talking about a full best ball draft. 20-second time clock, takes 20 minutes. And use your host promo code or FAST for a $50 deposit match when you sign up. Now let's go start drafting faster.
All right, Jerry, love Fast Draft. Have you drafted any Rabbits before we move on? Have you gotten to the Rabbits yet? Any of the origins yet?
It is not live in Iowa, so I cannot.
No.
But they just recently opened it up in Michigan, so the moment I move back in May, it is already downloaded. It is already ready. Okay,
perfect. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of work on that Fast Draft channel, me and Wyatt, doing a lot of drafts over there. It's a lot of fun. I'm probably biased. I like the app. I think it's extremely clean. It's a ton of fun. So if you haven't checked it out, get on over there. You can use my promo code NOVA for your deposit match as well. Let's go ahead and move over to our next player. And it's going to be Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze, man, this is a wild team to discuss this offseason, Jerry. Rome Odunze, 23.7 years old. He's not even 24 yet. Right now, wide receiver 2 in terms of the most traded player. He's been traded 178 times in the last 7 days, according to Dynasty Daddy. He was a 9th overall pick in 2024. Wide receiver 41 in total points this year, 24th in points per game with 12.2, 44 catches, 661 yards, 6 touchdowns, 90 targets. He had a 23.4% target rate, which was 28th in the NFL. And his startup ADP, he's going 60th off the board, wide receiver 19. This is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Bears are going to be the most polarizing rooms that we discuss again for another offseason. For the Bears, it feels like it's been this way for 3 seasons almost. For the Jaguars, it'll be, probably the second season. But with Rome Odunze, is he the number 1 guy to own in that wide receiver room, or have you shifted your love, or has your love always been for Luther Burden? And we're not even really talking about DJ Moore. I think we can all agree, while he's still a good player, I think, right, dynasty asset-wise, he's not on the same level as either of those 2 guys. And let's not even talk about Colson Loveland. Let's just omit him from the conversation.
Perfect. Anytime a Spartan can omit a Wolverine is always going to be a good opportunity for me. But that said, I would rather talk about him than any of these guys for the most part. I have always been a Rome Odunze is the wide receiver one in Chicago, but
Sure.
how do I feel about it for my dynasty teams? Pete, like how many headaches can I get during a season is the question. Am I going to be able to rely on them week in and week out? And that goes for Luther, that goes for Rome.
Yep.
Rome Odunze at this point is essentially I don't know. He's just his PR in the dynasty circles is off the chain. I don't know. It's like he signed Scott Boras as his dynasty PR, and everybody acts like he is Justin Jefferson, and he's like a poor man's T. Higgins. Like T. Higgins gets hyped.
I gotta get me a Scott. I gotta get me a Scott Boras. So
for sure.
That,
like he just like T. Higgins, just gets hyped up every single offseason, and every single season is just fine. Except for Rome Odunze hasn't even hit sort of the ceiling that T. Higgins has. Like, we're talking about a guy that's 600-700 yards. Now, I know he missed the last couple of games. He easily could have hit 1,000 yards, and which is fine, but it's not awesome. That said, very young. Like, if you are a person that believes in Rome Odunze, I think 100% you should, that should be your guy. I think where you're going to have to take him in a startup, I think if you're going to have to trade for him, I think he's going to be a little bit too expensive for what the return's going to be in the short term. So it depends if you are the patient type of player or you're not. And if you're not, I don't think you go for Rome Odunze. There will be an opportunity to buy Rome Odunze at a more discounted rate than right now. I'm not saying it's going to be catastrophic. Like, it's not going to be tremendously lower because he's always going to be an intriguing player. And he is good. He is a very talented guy. And I think this offense is going on the up and up. I just think Luther Burden showed that he is a dude and he is going to have flashes, but he's also going to go missing for chunks of the season. And Rome Odunze is going to do the same thing. And so is Colston Loveland, but Colston Loveland's a tight end. So if that happens to your tight end, you don't hate the person.
Right.
When you draft a person where you're going to have to draft Rome Odunze, you want to see some production all the time, brothers and sisters. And when he doesn't, like, you view him negatively. So I'm fine with Rome. I think he is a long-term, if you are a patient player, by all means. But if you are like me and you want instant gratification, I think he's going to make you more upset more often than you want.
Well, the craziest thing with Rome is the catchable target rate. You know, Caleb and him have just not connected, man. I mean, 63.3% catchable target rate. That's 81st in the NFL. I mean, it's been bad, man. It's been really bad. I was actually watching some tape of theirs today, and it just feels like, I mean, they're just not connecting for whatever reason. And Rome's getting open. It's not that. Caleb just, I don't know. I mean, we know Caleb has some accuracy issues. I mean, that's just what it is. He makes some great plays. I think he is oozing with talent, but it's the play to play where you get a little bit queasy, and you talk about consistency, and you just hope they can take that next step. Rome, 90 targets in 12 games is phenomenal. I mean, it's a good pace. I mean, his rookie year, he had 101. He was on pace to break that. He played 5 less games and he had 10 less targets. But again, 90 targets, only 44 receptions, and his rookie season, 101 targets, just 54 receptions. So it just, like you said, I think you start banging your head against the wall saying, dude, like, how many times can I sit here and look and see Rome Odunze had 8 targets, but he only had 4 catches for 54 yards, right? Like, those are the types of things that are going to make your head spin. I think Colston Loveland is the guy to own here, but the truth is, if you don't own him now, you ain't owning them later.
No, you're not.
And I am a huge proponent of, I do not pay for tight ends in Dynasty unless it's premium. I just don't, right? There's just so many. The position is super saturated, and unless you're the elite of the elite, the difference in a points per game basis is not worth giving up big draft capital for. So with Rome and Luther Burden, I think this is the time. It's funny because everyone was creaming their pants right after Luther Burden's game against the 49ers, and then he obviously had a few games in the playoffs where he looked good. But with this team, everyone's assuming DJ Moore is going to be leaving. Do you think DJ Moore is still on this team next year? Because that's the big hurdle. I mean, if he's there, he's going to be on the field. Is he going to catch targets every play? No. But, I mean, he's still going to be involved. He made some big plays for them outside of the one play that everyone's crying about that he slowed up on the terrible throw by Caleb, which was a bad throw. And I didn't really see it the way everybody else did, but neither here nor there. What do you think?
Why does DJ Moore leave?
Right.
That's my question. You just won this division. Tough division, right? My Lions were in last place and had an above a 500 record.
Yep.
You have a young coach, you have a young quarterback. I just had a stroke there for a second. I mean, the offense, you have Ben Johnson, who's one of the great offensive minds. Like where's he going to go, really? Like, I understand if, you want to try and just get peppered yards because of the young guys, but DJ Moore's been in the league for a long time. And DJ Moore's been on a lot of horrible teams, and he's finally not. There has to be something said for that, and he's already getting paid well.
And he's produced on bad teams.
Exactly. Like, I think even if he is irrelevant for the game that we play, I think him as a human being probably wants to stay in Chicago and try and win this thing.
It's funny, DJ Moore, I don't know what happened. I think a lot of it has to just do with people wanting their guy to shine. But there was this narrative created that DJ Moore is just a dog. He's just not a team player. He's a head case. Like, I never really got that from him. And I'll say, I mean, this offense had a lot of infused talent, and DJ Moore took a back seat a lot this season. He didn't complain about it once. Now people say, well, he's getting paid. But we've seen plenty of players that are getting paid that aren't getting the opportunity, and they open their mouths. I'm looking at AJ Brown. So I think it's a lot of wish casting of people wanting their guy to be the guy. And I don't know if DJ's going anywhere either. I thought initially it was a possibility. Look, they could save some money. They do need to reshuffle, but there's other contracts on this team like Edmonds, some other guys that they can move off of and restructure, Sweat, that they can free up some money easily. And like you said, I mean, just because it's kind of like Dynasty where you have that one guy where you have like 3 or 4 quarterbacks and the guy that has no quarterbacks keeps coming to you and says, well, you have all these quarterbacks. Why don't you sell me one on a discount? Why am I doing that? Because you don't have to sell from a strength just to do so. Why?
Also, like, would it surprise you if DJ Moore had a bounce back season and finished as wide receiver 20? No. Like, we're talking, like, let's go for the last couple of years. Humor me. Okay, so this year, PPR, wide receiver 35. And then let's just go back. 16, 6, 24, 18, 23, 16. What if this is the outlier? What if this was the bad one? And then next year repeats and gets another 8 touchdowns on the season, and that boosts his number. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. It would not surprise me. I have seen way, way, way crazier stuff in this game.
Also, Iron Man, I mean, he's played 17 games every year since 2021. And even before that, he played 15, and then 16. I mean, you talk about Rome's having issues now with the foot. He had some issues staying healthy this year. Burden had issues staying healthy beginning of the season, before the year started, then in season. Heck, you even had Loveland, who had the shoulder coming in. Now, granted, he gutted it out, so I'm not concerned about him. But just saying, too, I mean, availability is important, and DJ's been available. So yeah, so in terms of Rome, let's get to the let's tie this up here and move on. Rome Odunze, wide receiver 19. He's behind Brian Thomas Jr. He's behind Marvin Harrison Jr. He's behind Lad McConkey. I know your feelings on Lad. I don't think we need to revisit him. But Marv and Brian Thomas Jr. is Rome Odunze. Should he be valued behind those guys?
God. It's so tough because though you're talking about the two players that are just the most popular to sort of crap on right now.
Yep.
Which it would because we thought Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to come in and he was going to be that guy, and Brian Thomas Jr. was that guy, and then absolutely laid an egg for you. So
Yep.
if you and for the people that traded for Brian Thomas Jr. after his rookie season and then got this past season, I am so sorry. It's just that is a horrible travesty that sometimes happens in this game, and you will feel that pain and horror for the next decade. I'm looking
unless
at
he turns
you.
it around.
Yeah, which 100%. But either way, you're going to have a story, which is going to be fun. Would I put him behind those guys? I think I probably would. I've seen Brian Thomas Jr. be awesome. And I understand that last year it was bad. And it was bad because it was him. I believe in Liam Cohen. I think Trevor Lawrence is good enough. Like I think he's over the course of his career will be better than Sam Darnold. And I just watched Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl. Like I have to trust it. And maybe this is one of those things that in 10 years I make fun of myself that I've said it. But I think I would have him behind them, but I agree that they should all be in the same category. And if you don't believe that, I'm with you. I understand. Like I am not going to be firm, stuck in the mud, arguing against you. I get it.
Well, here's the thing so I would probably have Rome. I would have Rome behind BTJ. I'd have him ahead of Marv, and we talked about Rice. I'd have Rice behind all of them. That's just where I'm at. Right. So I think that's a fair spot. What I would say with Marv is I've said it time and time again at nauseum, we overdrafted him. That's just the reality, right? I mean, he had a good rookie season. He had a good statistically had a good rookie season. It had nothing to do with him and his play. The scary thing is I think Kyler is going back. I think he's staying there because I think LaFleur has seen life without a quarterback with New York with the Jets. And I don't think he wants to go back. And I think he'd love to have a mulligan year and a scapegoat in Kyler Murray to give him 1 year to get him to next year's class and let him settle in first and take some heat off of him. I know it sounds, gloom and doom and not as fun, but if Marv and Kyler are together, I have concerns that how they're going to connect. And obviously, look, Michael Wilson's there. I think he's a real thing. Is he going to be what we saw? Probably not. I don't think he's going to run that hot, of course.
But he's also he's not falling off the face of the earth either. Yeah.
Well, Jacoby's not throwing 50 balls a game, but I think people forget Marv looked pretty good just before he got hurt. I think people forget that though, right? So but to put a bow on that, I'd have Rome ahead of Marv. I'd have him ahead of Rice, and I have BTJ ahead of all four of those guys. We do have a question in the chat. So I'm going to get to Christian. And he said, who would you be looking to move Rashee Rice for, especially for a running back needy team? So let's just take a look at least where the market's valuing Rashee Rice and some of the running backs around him. Let's see if we can kind of help you out here, right? So running back needy team. Right now, Rice falls in between CMC and Bucky. I think CMC at 10 is a crime. I love CMC. But I don't know how he's still sitting here. I think that's insane. If you could, I mean, look, in a perfect world that, we'd love it to be this easy. But yeah, I mean, if you could move Rice for Hall, I would absolutely do it. I'd be fine moving Rice for Judkins. You might even be able to get a plus because Judkins is hurt right now. Those are the kinds of moves I'd be looking to make. Is there a specific running back that catches your eye that you'd be like, hey, honestly, you can move Rice for Cam Scattaboo and get a first maybe and be happy, right? Like something like that. Is that what strikes your eye or would you not go that drastic?
I'm not a Cam guy, but if I could get a first too, brother, okay, deal. Like I may not believe in Cam Scatterbo, but if I can get a first on top of it, goodness gracious, I will take you, Pete. But no, most of those running backs, I'm going to be honest, I would take over Rashee Rice. Like I know CMC is like 30 or what's that?
Even CMC, you're about to
Yeah,
talk about.
I mean, unless I'm in a total rebuild, but if I'm in a rebuild, I'm not really going to be, oh, I'm going to go out and shop for Rashee Rice. Like I don't think that's a situation that's going to be very common.
Yeah, you probably want to have compatible teams there, and it doesn't look like that would be compatible.
Yeah, but I would definitely take Christian McCaffrey because if I can get one season of Christian McCaffrey, I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to match that production with Rashee Rice. I mean, I know I'm not going to be able to match that production, but I don't know how much production I'm going to get going forward. What stops the Chiefs from continuing to draft wide receivers and maybe they find one that's not doing continuously stupid things and then they just rely on them?
It's fair.
Or Andy Reid, historically wonderful for running backs, finds one that's actually awesome, and then that can help alleviate some of the issues with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and you got to figure Mahomes. I mean, they got to be thinking that they have to get this run game figured out that hasn't been figured out for 2 years now. And Bieniemy's back, so he's going to be able to help get them right there. Okay. Good response there. And then we'll get to Tommy and then we'll move on to the next question here. He said, what would you suggest Tyreek Hill owners do? So me and Jerry talked about this. I think we're both in agreement. Look, Tyreek Hill is a hold right now. If you can get a second rounder for him, I would pull the trigger, but anything less than a second, I'm just going to hold him and hold out hope that he has some of that athleticism back when he comes back from the injury and he finds himself on a team that's not the Miami Dolphins. That's really it. I don't think anybody giving you an answer on Tyreek Hill is really just shooting fish in a barrel and they're throwing shit at the wall, right?
Tommy, this is what I will tell you, my friend. Nobody wants Tyreek Hill. And I don't say that like he's a dead asset and he's worth nothing. I say that if you try and trade Tyreek Hill away, you will get absolutely no responders. Yeah. It is what it is, which is why you just have to hold, which is fine because he's an unbelievable talent. And if you can get a couple of games, if you play in a 2-flex or 3-flex league and I can pop Tyreek Hill in there every once in a while, assuming he's healthy, which if you're going to play him, he is, okay. There's way worse situations than that. So I'm just holding 100%. If like Pete said, if you can get a second, brother, accept it and send Tyreek Hill off. But I just don't foresee that happening.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. And then we'll answer this one quick and we'll move on to the next. He said, would you accept Wan'Dale Ollie Gordon and a 26 111? Okay, so this is a lot here. So you're getting Wan'Dale Ollie Gordon, the 111 and the 411 for the 103. I got news for you. I like Wan'Dale. You're getting a whole lot of crap for a premium pick in a draft class that's pretty top heavy. And the 111, I can't tell you is going to be much different than the 205. That's where I'm at with this class, especially once you get past, the first 6-7 guys. So I would say that's probably a big no for me.
Here's the thing. You can take Ollie Gordon and you can take the 4th round pick and throw it away. Irrelevant, doesn't matter to my team. If in the event that Ollie Gordon is relevant at all, I'm already in a bad situation. I'm already rebuilding, and it's probably only going to be for a game or two. Yep. The 411, listen, if you guys are great at drafting and you can get a 4th round pick to hit more often than once every 5 years, I salute you. But I want you, if you have played in this game for any stretch of time, go back to your previous drafts and look at what the 4th round is, and a whole bunch of them irrelevant. And if you're new to this game, but maybe you joined a league that's existed for a while and you can see it, there's a good chance you don't recognize a lot of the names. I'm good on that. I love me some Wan'Dale Robinson, but that is not the difference between 111 and 103. No, thank you.
Yeah.
It's not the worst offer. Like, I'm not going to send you a middle finger emoji, but I am going to decline it and not counter.
Yeah, I mean it's 4 quarters for $1, right? Like you're
Yep.
trying to get to that, and it's just not enough. But
It's
it's a
not
good
even
question.
it's not even quarter. You slip 2 nickels in there, and you're trying to hope that I think it's 2 quarters.
Yeah, you might be checking if it's counterfeit at this point. But Tommy, we appreciate the question. And Joe, we're gonna get to that in a second, but let's move on here to our next player. Man, this next guy, it's hard for me to talk about because I've been such a believer, and it's Nico Collins, wide receiver 8 in terms of the most traded player, 163 times, traded the 13th most over the last 7 days. I don't know why I always get twisted up when I'm saying those. But he's 26.9 years old, so he's about to turn 27. He was a 25th pick in the 3rd round in 2021's NFL draft. 19th in points per game this year, 15.1. I had to relook at that because I didn't think that was accurate. Didn't feel like that for Nico Collins, but he was 15.1 points per game, 19th in the NFL. He was actually wide receiver 8 in total points. I think that just goes to show the inconsistency we got at the wide receiver position. It's kind of like Zay Flowers. You opened your eyes. It was week 17. You opened your eyes and you said, holy crap, this guy is a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy points this year, because I couldn't have told you that. And that's how I feel about Nico Collins. 120 targets was actually the most of his career. He played 15 games this year. He's had a little bit of injury stuff, but not like massive time missed, but just some hamstring, some little small things here and there, some concussions. 71 catches, 1,117 yards, 6 touchdowns. Tank Dell expected to be back this year. We've heard some good reports. Obviously not good enough to him get back last year, but that was pretty high expectations if you did. And then he's got 2 rookies that were with him this year that are stepping into year 2. He's in a run first offense with defensive minded coach. Startup ADP wise, he's going at 32, wide receiver 10 off the board. Nico Collins, Jerry, what are your thoughts on this guy, man? Because I absolutely loved Nico. He was one of those guys that I will hang my hat on and say that I believed in him when he was drafted. I had a lot of shares of him, so I was very happy to see him pan out. I never expected it to be this good, but I think I'm hitting a point with Nico where I think I'm ready to cash in if I can. And I hate to say that. And maybe I am overanalyzing the situation because he did have statistically a good season, but I just feel like I'm a little nervous about that situation.
Which I think is 100% fair. I've always been a Nico Collins guy because when he was at Michigan, he used to come into the restaurant I worked at all the time and just
Oh, no way.
Nicest dude that you've ever met. And knowing I was a Michigan State fan, talking some stuff, chicken club quesadilla with no tomatoes, just in case you are curious what his order was. But I understand why you're frustrated with him. Because the reality is we had the one season where he went for like 12 or 1,300 yards and had a bunch of touchdowns. And then we've seen a whole bunch of those like prime DJ Moore seasons where it's like 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns, and like sort of like what we're seeing with Garrett Wilson. Like it's just like the situation is just not showing us the entire opportunity. But also, then you look at the end of the season and you see he's, what'd you say he was? Wide receiver 8?
Wide receiver 8 in 2025. I thought I had to relook at it.
And then you look at the game log. You look at the game log and you see like 7 for 75, and you're like, okay, like that's a pretty solid game. Fantasy points wise, like if you're in a matchup, okay, he got me, 15 points, which is cool. Like I'm not upset that you got me 15, but it doesn't make me feel like, oh, Nico Collins is carrying my team. But at the end of the season, when you see wide receiver 8, you go, oh yeah, I can win a championship with this guy. I think I'm with you, man. I think I'm good on that situation. I haven't seen really anything that shows me that CJ Stroud is going to be unbelievable. I don't think that offensive scheme is unbelievable. And while I do think he is the guy, and I think I don't really care about Tank Dell, that man cannot stay on the field. I loved him. I was a big supporter early on, but you're gonna have those big weeks with Nico.
Yep.
So we can do this show, and somebody can cut a clip of it and then comment and say, "Oh, he had 85 yards and 2 touchdowns in the playoffs." Listen, brother, I know. I know I'm going to look stupid when I say that.
You know what he's capable of.
Yes, 100%. But how much are you going to be able to rely on it consistently? And I would love to argue with you. I really would. It is one of the great joys that this field gives us. But I'm with you. What, do you have the startup ADP pulled up?
I have.
Who's he going by?
So Nico is wide receiver 10. Now he goes behind Tet, Drake London. I think that's fair. That's fair. I mean,
I'm fine.
You could argue
Tet's a risky pick there, but
yeah, you could argue Tet, and I love Tet. You could argue Tet though. How high is the ceiling in that offense? So I get that.
Yep.
Behind him, you have George Pickens at 11. You have Garrett Wilson at 12. You have Chris Olave at 13. Rashee Rice 14. Agbuka at 15. Ladd at 16. So similar guys, obviously, that we were talking about before.
Relatively similar to George Pickens, but just in an exponentially worse situation, and he's older than him. And I was a skeptic of George Pickens, but that was one of my misses for sure.
Me too.
I like you have to want George Pickens more than Nico Collins, I think. And I know what we've seen, but if I'm going to bet on the future and not the past, it has to be Pickens.
I mean, you wouldn't even need to do a tier down. I mean, look, sometimes fantasy's funny. Like, you might find a guy that loves Nico Collins and has George Pickens. And I would say straight up, I'm good trading 1 for 1. I don't need to get a pick. I don't need to get anything. I'm fine doing that straight up. Right now in fantasy, it's really, really kind of a weird situation where, why are people doing straight up swaps for position to position? If it's the same position and they're very close, why would people do a swap? Maybe you have somebody who believes in a guy, maybe they don't. But straight up in a vacuum, I would trade Nico for Pickens straight up. I would lean into the uncertainty of Garrett Wilson, who is younger and I think more talented. So I would be fine doing Nico to Garrett. And at that point, you could probably get a plus from Nico to Garrett just because people are so concerned about that situation with the Jets. And I do the same thing with Olave. I would never trade Nico for Rashee Rice. I wouldn't go that far. And I could cheer down from Nico to Agbuka, especially in a rebuild. And if I could get a 108, I'd be okay with that. That's about my limit of how far back I'd like the first to go. Heck, if you love the 2027 class and you told me it's neat, I'm getting Agbuka and a pick there that you're expecting, to be, it could just be a 1-0. It could just be a first there. It doesn't matter. I'm okay taking a chance there if you really like the class too, and you really feel like I'm a good drafter. I'm a good evaluator of talent when it comes to rookies. So I'm okay with that. But I think the main point is here is we're both saying Nico Collins for us is a sell. And I think at wide receiver 10, I love him. I love what he's done for us. But when you look at the numbers, okay, Nico Collins last year had 5 games below 10 fantasy points, below 9 fantasy points. And, then like Jerry said, he had a couple of pop weeks, 22, 24, 21, 23. That's how he got up there because he had 5 games of 20 or more points. But again, this is a team that has a defensive-minded coach. We just saw C.J. Stroud implode in the playoffs. Do you think that DeMeco Ryans is sitting there with confidence saying, yeah, we're going to open it up next year. We're going to open it up. I mean, so you got more target competition. They're definitely going to upgrade the running back position, I think. And it's a team that's not going to be trailing a lot because of that defense to have to air it out anyway. So I think he's a sell. And I love Nico. And someone, like you said, might clip this and come back to it. It doesn't change my fact that I love Nico, the player. He's done a lot for me. But at this price tag, as a third-round startup pick, I would be selling him.
100%. I mean, you're talking about somebody that has missed a couple games every single season. You're talking about somebody that has had a really high peak and has gotten progressively worse. I mean, not talent-wise, but production-wise. And he's hitting his apex season. So, maybe it turns it around. But also, we've seen the slip, and now he's getting older, plus he misses time. And there's just nothing about that says he is going to improve on what he is and where he is going. Got to be a sell. And I saw you pull up AJ Brown.
I did pull up AJ Brown. That was a little bit of a teaser there, and he is going to be a really fun guy to talk about. But before we talk about it, we talked about a lot of rookies, so I want to make sure that I let you guys know that the Origins draft over on Fast Draft just dropped. So make sure you check that out, especially if you're a sicko like us and you want to get some rookie drafting in.
Rookie draft season is now, and you know that because on Fast Draft we have the Origins tournament. That's right, the first, way too early, all rookie tournament is live. There's a $10,000 prize pool. Start practicing for your rookie drafts and leverage your knowledge of rookies by winning cash. And given that it's close to 50% full, if not already well beyond 50% full, a lot of those drafts included players that actually did not come out. So every draft that happens from here until this thing fills, you're getting positive EV. So go to fastdraft.app, get the app, and sign up with your host promo code for a $50 deposit match, or use code FAST. Fast Draft is the next hot fantasy game, so get out there and start drafting faster.
All right, Jerry. So I'm talking about AJ Brown, and this is a player that I think the conversation around him is all over the place. Let's take it for a second here. 28.6 years old. This is a guy that was drafted 19th in the second round in 2019 out of Ole Miss. Went to the Tennessee Titans, gets traded to the Eagles, wins a Super Bowl. The biggest thing with him is really, I don't think the production has dropped off the way many feel, Jerry. I think it's over-exaggerated a little bit. And maybe I'm taking crazy pills here, but I know a lot of people think that he's kind of getting washed up. And I don't think that. I really don't. I think the talent is still there, Jerry. Am I crazy for thinking and still believing in AJ Brown, who's 28? He's still with this Eagles team. He's still with Jalen Hurts throwing him the football. That hasn't changed yet. Am I crazy for believing in this guy still at this point? Or should I be like the rest who have kind of are writing him off at this point?
I got to ask a question. So you got the Phillies behind you. Can I assume you're an Eagles fan?
I am not. I am a Broncos fan. A Broncos fan. But I do get a lot. I do love to hear a lot of the Philly commentary because with AJ, I mean, it is spicy, and this media market is pretty tough.
All right, so let Gerald settle himself real quick. Let me get ready.
You do that.
I was so ready to argue with you, my friend.
Oh, no.
Hat's got to go backwards. AJ Brown is a buy. And I know that a lot of you lemmings out there think that it's really fun to just regurgitate what everybody else is saying when somebody is crapping on a player, and it makes it this big thing. It's like Nickelback, Pete, right?
Oh my gosh,
yes. Everybody talks about Nickelback, and it became a super popular thing to hate on Nickelback. I got news for you people. Nickelback just has banger after banger after banger. And AJ Brown is good. Let's break it down. Okay. Right? Old man, 28 years old. He's a diva and everything is awful. Oh, let's look at the end of the season. Okay, championship game, 5 for 68. Not ideal, not great. Semifinals, 9 for 95. Game before that, 2 for 41 with a touchdown. Oh, Jerry, I need to get some wins so I can get in the playoffs. Hi, my name's AJ Brown. 6 for 100, 10 for 132, 2 touchdowns, 8 for 110 and a touchdown. That's at 28. That's it with the dysfunction of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's with the diva that is AJ Brown. And he's 28, and the community loves to hate on him. Bye. And you know what? If he does fall off, you're still buying him for cheaper than his production is worth.
The cheapest you're ever going to get him. Cheapest you'll ever get.
What? Wide receiver 11, wide receiver 20, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, wide receiver 32, wide receiver 12, wide receiver 21. That's the entirety of that man's career. And you're going to bet that he does worse with the same quarterback, the same coach, the same everything? You guys, come on, be better. Don't just go along and regurgitate the talking points that everybody wants to talk about. Zig when they're zagging, ladies and gentlemen. A.J. Brown is a buy.
I think so too. And I love the energy there. I had to turn the hat around a little bit to bring the spice because, first of all, I love the Nickelback reference because I am a fan. I'm a fan. I'm a Creed fan too. I don't know if that's kind of in your range still,
banger,
but that's kind of same vibe for me. Same vibe. That's my feeling on Creed. But yeah, man, I'm with you. AJ Brown. I don't take Pro Football Focus as gospel, right? They're flawed, just like we all are, right? It's funny though. Pro Football Focus had a huge piece on him coming into last year that they had him as the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL after charting all his routes. The true number 1 wide receiver. And I think people were stumped off of that, right? But when you look at him, you want an alpha receiver. This guy is an alpha. Yeah. Okay. He dropped some passes. He didn't come up big in that last playoff game for the 49ers. And that's the last taste that you have in your mouth. He's a diva, right? You have all these things, but the truth is the guy was checked out. Who gives a shit? You have all these people that you're willing to go out and draft Rashee Rice, who got into a car pileup because he was performing on the field for you. Like, some of these guys got issues. Some of these guys are divas. Some of them have emotions. AJ Brown's emotions, the worst part of him came out last year. I don't think that this is the AJ Brown. This is the same guy that was on the Titans. That was not and they traded him. He didn't make a big deal of it. So I think it's gotten too far with AJ. I think he's absolutely a buy. Now, startup ADP wise has him at the 106. I think you can get him cheaper. I will say that. I know we talked about the startup ADP. I think it has him between the 105 and the 106 rookie pick in startup ADP. I think you can absolutely get AJ Brown for cheaper, especially if you go to a team when rookie season starts to get more hyped and more hyped and more hyped and more hyped. You could definitely, I think, find somebody willing to move off of him for a guy that they like at the 107, 108 spot. And honestly, as a contender, I'm okay taking that chance because, as I said earlier in the show, there's a lot of uncertainty about this class. Once you get past pick 6, pick 7, pick 8, then it's a real lot of gray. Now, I'm sure players will settle in once we get draft capital, once we get the combine, once we get the pro days, once we get free agency. We get all that. But the point is, AJ Brown's a massive buy for me as well. And honestly, I'm kind of excited. I think Philly finally went out of the box with their coach, their offensive coaching hire. They brought a guy from the McVay tree, who was a guy that helped freaking Malik Willis look competent for the Packers. That seems like pretty hard to do. So I think Jalen, I think this could be good for them and that offense. I think we'll see more throws over the middle of the field, which we weren't seeing. Some of that has to do with Jalen. Some of it has to do with the play calling, not wanting Jalen to do it because he probably can't or isn't as good at it. That's a whole other conversation. But the point is still the point. I think AJ Brown is a buy, and I think the conversation's got too far on him.
What's the alternative? How does he fail? Okay, let's look at his competition in the offense. Does anyone in the world think that Devonta Smith is going to overtake him? No, we've seen what Devonta Smith is at this point. Like, you're getting 1,000 yards and you're getting 7 touchdowns and
good player.
Brother.
Absolutely good player.
Good player, not awesome. Like,
not an alpha.
Is he Jordan Addison just in a better situation? Yeah, probably. He might be a little better than him, but
I think a little better. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I know. I'm stretching a little bit, but
I get it.
Like you brought up the rookie picks, dude. Once we get into April, like you're doing your taxes. I don't know when maybe you people do your taxes at normal times. I do it right before the IRS comes and gets me. When I'm doing that and I want to trade that rookie pick, you're going to get AJ Brown for 110. Like I'm sorry. Everybody gets rookie fever.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if we're talking about like May 1st when the NFL draft just happens, if you have 110 and you're a contender and you think you can just snag him, easy. Like that's just such an easy buy. It's like when last year you could have done the same thing with Derrick Henry. And you know what would have happened had you done it with Derrick Henry? Oh my God, you paid late first for an old running back. Yeah, and then he dropped 50 on your noggin in the championship game. Cry.
And honestly, AJ is the kind of player that I think will age well. I think he's a guy that will age well. I know he's 28 years old, but I think we could still get two, top 15 points per game seasons, from him at least the next 2 years. And we talked about it. I play Dynasty in 2 to 3 year windows. I'm not worried about, shoot, man, like I'm not going to be like, after this season, AJ is going to give me possibly a fringe wide receiver 1 year, but then what's my value going to be if I need to trade him after? Like, I'm not worried about that stuff, man. Like, you set yourself up for success in other ways. Like, I can't, like, it's the same with Derrick Henry. You missed out on Derrick Henry if you were super worried about the age. Like, these guys are also, there's a possibility that some of these guys that are elite players, like, you got a bell curve in the NFL, okay? You got fringe NFL players, right? That maybe they're on the fringe of even being in the NFL. Then you have about 50% in the middle of just like, hey, these guys are average. They're contributors. They're not going to win you a game, but they're good players and they're average players on a team. And then you have the other side, which gets to very good in the elite, right? And when you have some of these elite players, AJ Brown was elite for a long time, right? Like Derrick Henry, elite for a long time. Christian McCaffrey, elite for a long time. These guys, if they haven't had catastrophic injuries, okay, they're not losing their talent like we saw in the past, right? Where guys would slow up or just for whatever reason, guys would slow down faster. We're not seeing that nearly as much as we did, especially with the elite players and guys like Devontae Adams, elite, right? Was able to do it and is still able to do it in his early 30s right now. So is there anything else you want to talk about with AJ before we move on?
No, I think I said my piece with all of my yelling and my ranting that I did. Okay. I would just say, if you want to acquire AJ Brown, do it when everybody else cares about rookies, because I promise, like I keep bringing up the late first round thing, but I don't know how long everybody has played this game, sure. But I promise you that about half of your first round rookie picks are never going to be top 24 at their position, and I know that sounds crazy, but the numbers confirm it. Like I pulled up one of my rookie drafts from 2 years ago. Not a long time. You get the end of the first, you got your Xavier Worthies, your Jonathan Brooks, your Trey Benson, your Keon Coleman's. Like there's a lot of guys in there that are just not worth a damn thing. And I know that's an unpopular opinion to have, especially when we're all drinking it down. But, sure. Use when everybody is really passionate about one thing, do the opposite. When you want to get rookies, do it in week 9 when people are worried about winning matchups. And when you want to get those veterans, do that when everybody cares about rookies.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always buying veterans at rookie season is always one of my favorite things to do because nobody wants them, right? Everybody's looking for the shiny new thing. It's the DJ Moore thing. Talked about him, right? Same thing. Everybody wants to figure out who's going to step up and take his job away. Now, the next player and the last player, if you have any other last minute questions, send them in now because this is our last segment. Jerry's been an awesome guest. Really appreciate having you on, man. We're going to talk about a player that I have been super fired up about since he got drafted in the NFL, And not fired up, excited. Fired up because when you talk about zigging, I zagged. And it's Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is the 11th most traded wide receiver in fantasy football for Dynasty. 154 trades, the number 18th most traded player overall. He's 22.8 years old. This guy was the number 2 overall pick in 2025's NFL draft. And a lot of people, Jerry, said to me, dude, this guy is a wide receiver picked at the number 2 spot. I mean, he had higher draft capital since I think it was Calvin Johnson. You would know when was Calvin the last guy that got that?
Yeah, I think he was 2. Yeah,
he was the last guy. And people, I'm like, guys, they're baking in that he also plays cornerback, right? And if they can find a way to get really great production on both sides of the ball, that is extremely valuable. But let's stop with he's the first wide receiver since Calvin Johnson to be drafted number 2 overall. I mean, is just misleading, right? And look, I like Travis Hunter. I'm super fun player to watch. I love the whole idea of him going both ways, but 7 games played, knee injury, season got cut short. Everybody was buying into the Kool-Aid that after that London game, he was going to explode. It was, oh my gosh, they were rolling out the red carpet for this guy, Jerry. Everybody kept saying, the bye week is here. They're going to install all this stuff for Travis Hunter, and he's going to be amazing. And I'm just like, based on what? Because BTJ's struggling a little bit. Okay, I that was the only thing that and coach speak. And because he had a nice game in almost garbage time at the end of the Jaguars London game. I mean, I don't know, Jerry. Am I taking crazy pills? Am I being too hard on Travis Hunter right now? I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. I didn't get it. I still don't get it. To be fair, he's wide receiver 27 in startup ADP, which has been a complete pendulum swing from where he was valued coming into last year, which was like wide receiver 12, 13 before he even took a snap. Am I overreacting a little bit here?
Mr. Terranova, I want you to know that for all of the joy I had in my AJ Brown rant, seeing yours for Travis Hunter, it warms my heart. I don't disagree. Listen, I have my oldest redraft league. It's the one that I have with all my friends, and it never like evolves. Like I think we just got to like half PPR like a year ago or something. I feel like it's horrible.
Standard,
but the one thing,
sophomore in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing we had going though was we had one IDP position, and I drafted Travis Hunter early because I was like, you know what, you guys. I'm gonna get wide receiver points from my corner. And he did pretty much nothing the whole time. And I got that London game. And Pete, I was ready to build a statue outside of my house of Travis Hunter. And then you got the news that like he got hurt, and I was like, it's a bye week. I'm chilling. Like it's all good. And then he was out for the season, and I hate this game. I hate this game. It's a horrible game. But that was an IDP league, and I was starting him in my corner spot.
Yeah.
In what confidence could you possibly have starting this man in your wide receiver spot if you are in any situation other than a complete and total rebuild? Now, I am a person that believes there really is no such thing as a 3-year rebuild, but if you have a 2-year rebuild, I've got some bad teams. So I promise that those exist. Sure. I'm happy having Travis Hunter because I don't care if I win or if I lose. In fact, I'm sort of hoping I lose. What do you need to happen? You need Brian Thomas Jr. to continue to be terrible. You need probably something to happen to Travis Etienne, who was another person that people hated. Wrong. And then you need Travis Hunter to probably not play corner, which is something that he's good at. And I just don't see that happening. Like, is Travis Hunter going to be a good NFL player for probably a long time? 100%.
Yep.
Now the question is, what do you do if you have him? You just have to hold. And you have to hope
Absolutely.
that people like Pete and people like Jerry are the stupidest human beings that have ever walked the world, and this man is the next Malik Neighbors, which is what I was hoping when I drafted him to be my corner. I promise you I was. So don't think I don't have a little bit of that hope still inside me. It's just, it's a gamble, and it's a risk. And at some point, you will probably have an opportunity to get him at a value. It might be in the middle of the season. If he starts the first month, 5 weeks, and he's doing sort of the same thing he was last year, 4 catches, 40 yards here, 6 catches, 71 yards, and not setting the world on fire, and you believe in him, you will be able to acquire him for a reasonable price. And if it pays off in the long run, then you will absolutely hit it. I am just not a person that does. Like, I drafted him in some of my rookie drafts. I did earlier than I wish I did. But when I've got 30, 35 leagues, like I like to, I like to, you know, I don't want to just get the same players. I gotta bounce it around a little bit.
Well, you also got to assume you're not going to have 100% hit rate. So it's good to have exposure.
Oh, brother, I definitely do not have 100% hit rate. I once drafted Hakeem Butler in the first round. And for those of you that have not played this game for a very long time, let's just say that is a catastrophically bad pick.
Well, listen, there are a lot of people out there that do tout that they are almost 100%. I won't say that. You won't say that either. What I will say is this, okay? With Travis Hunter, I'm a defensive guy. I love defense. I love the idea of him going both ways. I will always root for the defense over the offense. So he's got a special place in my heart. I think it's awesome. I mean, a guy that can play defense and offense getting love like that. I think it's awesome. The variables of this situation from when you drafted him last year has changed. It's changed. Okay. I'll take you through it. Okay. Knee injury, done for the year. Parker Washington was starting to heat up even a little bit before. Is he going to just disappear? Because I got news for you. In a year where Brian Thomas Jr. fell off and Trevor Lawrence finally had that year we've been hoping for, Parker Washington was at the epitome of that and was that guy that clearly Trevor Lawrence trusts the most out of all of his wide receivers. So I don't just assume that Parker Washington's going away. Brenton Strange has started to ascend, right? 2 years ago, it was promising. This year, when he was healthy on the field, he clearly looked like he was a real talent. And then you factor in Jacoby Myers got traded to this team. They were trying to make a playoff push. Travis Hunter was gone. They weren't getting production from Brian Thomas Jr. like they hoped. They made a move for Jacoby Myers. They fell in love with the guy clearly because they gave him an extension. So now he is locked in there. And a lot of people will sit here and say in their head, well, Pete, Brian Thomas Jr. is getting traded. Of course, Brian Thomas Jr. is just getting traded, guys. Of course. The guy that had an amazing rookie season, I get not with this front office, had an amazing rookie season, is on a rookie deal, was a top 10 draft pick. Might have been, top 10 draft pick.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about all those things, and they're just going to give up on him because he had a down year last year. And mind you, his best friend passed away that he played with in college in this past offseason. I don't think his head was on straight. We've talked about the Kyron Lacy thing 2 times now, but I'm just bringing it up to paint the picture. It is not as black and white as people say. Brian Thomas Jr., I don't think is just going anywhere. And mind you this guy just hurt his knee. Are you telling me that this team that was trying to be careful with his snap count to not overload him is going to this year coming up just say, fuck it, we're putting him out there, we're just going to have him play offense and defense like everyone wanted us to, and he's going to tear the league on fire, Jerry? I mean, is that just going to happen? And mind you, one more thing, and I'll let you come in. They have 4 cornerbacks that are pending free agents this year, okay? That cornerback room has issues. They have an abundance at wide receiver now. It makes total sense for them to let him get comfortable at corner and then maybe put special packages in next year for him at wide receiver. But nobody wants to admit that. And I just don't get why we're putting the blinders on for this right now. It just doesn't make sense to me. And to Jerry's point before, then it might open up a great time to buy him because his stock will continue to go lower.
Pete, what in the fuck am I going to say to top any of that? I got nothing. Because I agree. I told you once. I've told you a couple times. I would love to argue with you. I'm not going to be able to top that. So you tell me what you got to do to wrap this sucker up, because that is exactly the kind of thing that I would love to hear if I was driving in my car right now talking about Travis Hunter.
Well, here's the thing, okay? That's going to wrap it up for us. Jerry, I appreciate it. Been an awesome guest. Hopefully, we can get you back on here at some point in time. I will send a shout out to the chat. We got Paul in here sending love to Jerry. We got Joe Carlton, who's been here. We had Jamie. We had James. We had Tommy in the house as well. We had Christian as well. If you guys are still here and you enjoyed the show, give us a thumbs up, okay? Make sure you subscribe to us. We're going to continue with these shows. Maybe I'll have Jerry on sooner rather than later back on this show, but you'll know where to find me. I will be back here next week. And Jerry, you have anything else you want to say before we send off?
Yeah, just everybody that said something about Randy or how it was good to see me, thank you. I love you all. I cannot tell you what it means to me to see all that stuff. Pete, thank you for having me on. And honestly, this was a kick-ass show. I had a ton of fun. I think the energy was great. And I think we absolutely entertained the people. Is that my man, Cameron Myers? My man, Cameron Myers. I mean, he's a Wolverine. So, you know, he doesn't have a full, complete soul, but he's a good dude. So it's good to see everybody. I appreciate you all. I love you. I'm a crier, so I'm gonna cut it short right here, because otherwise I'm gonna start crying. But Pete, my man, thank you for having me on. Everybody, thank you. Kick-ass show. And listen, you're gonna screw up drafting. You're gonna screw up trading. Just learn from it. That's what we got to do.
Beautiful. All right, folks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.